Something strange happens when a narcissist meets an INFJ. At first, the narcissist feels powerful, in control, certain they can manipulate this quiet person like everyone else. But then something shifts. The INFJ does not react the way they expect. They do not compete. They do not chase validation. They do not play emotional games. Instead, they observe. And that silent observation begins to make the narcissist uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable. Because deep down, narcissists survive on illusion, on control, on attention. But the INFJ personality type sees through illusion. They sense motives. They read emotional patterns. They notice what others miss. And once the narcissist realizes they are being quietly understood, fear begins. This is why many narcissists feel strangely threatened by INFJs. Not because INFJs are loud, not because they attack, but because they see. In this video, we will explore why the INFJ personality terrifies narcissists, how their emotional intelligence exposes narcissistic behavior, and why narcissists often try to control, avoid, or destroy INFJs once they realize they cannot manipulate them. And if you are an INFJ, you may have experienced this your whole life, without fully knowing why. The INFJ personality, quiet but powerful. To understand why narcissists fear INFJs, we must first understand the INFJ personality type. INFJs are often called the rarest personality type in the Myers-Briggs system. They are known for deep intuition, high emotional intelligence, and an unusual ability to understand human psychology. But INFJs rarely show their strength outwardly. They appear calm, quiet, sometimes even shy. This makes many people underestimate them, including narcissists. Narcissists often look for people who seem empathetic and kind, people who give attention easily, people who listen deeply, people who care. And INFJs do care, very deeply. But what narcissists do not realize is that INFJs are not just empathetic. They are also extremely perceptive. They notice inconsistencies. They sense hidden motives. They read energy beneath words. This combination makes them very different from the typical empath a narcissist hopes to control. An INFJ may listen silently, but inside their mind, they are analyzing everything. Patterns, contradictions, emotional shifts. This quiet awareness becomes the first reason narcissists feel uneasy around INFJs. Because narcissists depend on people who do not notice their patterns. INFJs always do. Narcissists depend on control. To understand the fear narcissists feel, we must understand narcissistic psychology. Narcissists are driven by a constant need for narcissistic supply. This supply comes from attention, admiration, control, emotional reactions. They need people to react to them, to praise them, to chase them, or even to argue with them, because reaction gives them power. But INFJs respond differently. They are reflective. They pause before reacting. They observe before speaking. And this calm energy disrupts the narcissist's usual strategy. When a narcissist criticizes someone, they expect anger or insecurity. When they brag, they expect admiration. When they manipulate, they expect confusion. But INFJs often respond with something else. Silence. Not weak silence, but thoughtful silence. This silence makes narcissists nervous. Because without emotional reactions, their manipulation loses power. INFJs see patterns others miss. One of the most powerful traits of the INFJ personality type is pattern recognition. INFJs notice how people behave over time. They remember small details. They connect emotional patterns that others overlook. At first, the narcissist may charm them. They may appear confident, successful, charismatic. Many narcissists are skilled at creating a strong first impression. But INFJs rarely judge people only by the first impression. They watch how the person treats others. They observe subtle contradictions. They listen for tone, not just words. Slowly, the INFJ begins to see the real personality behind the performance. And when an INFJ sees a narcissist clearly, something important changes. They stop feeding the illusion. They stop offering admiration. They stop giving emotional reactions. To a narcissist, this feels threatening. because their power begins to disappear. Narcissists fear being seen. The greatest fear of a narcissist is exposure. Not public exposure, but psychological exposure. They are terrified of someone understanding their true motives. Because once someone understands the manipulation, the illusion collapses. Most people react emotionally when dealing with narcissistic behavior. They argue. They defend themselves. They get pulled into the drama. But INFJs often step back instead. They observe the pattern. They understand the manipulation. And then they quietly withdraw emotional energy. This calm awareness is extremely unsettling for narcissists. Because they realize something uncomfortable. They are no longer in control. The INFJ mirror effect. Another reason narcissists feel threatened by INFJs is what psychologists sometimes call the mirror effect. INFJs naturally reflect emotional energy. They absorb the emotional atmosphere around them. And they often respond with deep insight. When a narcissist interacts with most people, they can project a fake identity. Confident, perfect, superior. But INFJs sense the insecurity underneath. And their responses sometimes reflect that truth back to the narcissist. Not aggressively, not intentionally, just naturally. An INFJ might ask a thoughtful question, or make a quiet observation. Something simple. But suddenly the narcissist feels exposed. Because the INFJ has touched something real. Something the narcissist tries very hard to hide. This is deeply uncomfortable for someone with narcissistic traits. Because narcissists prefer control, not reflection. INFJs do not need validation. Another reason INFJs intimidate narcissists is their relationship with validation. Most narcissists expect people to seek approval. They assume everyone wants admiration, status, recognition. But INFJs often operate differently. They are driven by meaning, purpose, authenticity. They value depth more than attention. This makes their behavior unpredictable for narcissists. A narcissist may boast about success. The INFJ may listen politely, but they are not impressed. They are more interested in character than status. They care about integrity more than image. And this lack of admiration creates tension. Because narcissists rely on admiration to maintain their self-image. Without it, they feel insecure. And when the admiration never comes from an INFJ, they begin to feel threatened. INFJs notice emotional manipulation. Narcissists often use emotional manipulation to control people. This may include gaslighting, guilt-tripping, love bombing, silent treatment, triangulation. These behaviors are common in narcissistic relationships. They are designed to confuse and control. But INFJs have strong emotional awareness. They notice when emotions feel artificial. They sense when someone is trying to provoke guilt. They recognize when praise suddenly turns into criticism. Over time, the INFJ begins to understand the manipulation pattern. And once they understand it, they stop reacting. This is where narcissists start to panic. Because manipulation only works when someone reacts emotionally. When the reaction disappears, the narcissist loses influence. The INFJ door slam. One of the most well-known INFJ behaviors is something often called the INFJ door slam. This happens when an INFJ finally decides to remove someone from their life completely. Not impulsively, not out of anger, but after a long period of observation. INFJs are patient. They often give people many chances. They try to understand. They try to help. They try to communicate. But when they finally realize someone is toxic or manipulative, something changes. They close the door emotionally. And they rarely open it again. To a narcissist, this is shocking. Because narcissists expect people to keep returning. They expect emotional attachment. They expect forgiveness. But when an INFJ walks away calmly and permanently, the narcissist loses their source of control. This is one of the moments when narcissists feel the most threatened by INFJs. Narcissists cannot easily manipulate INFJs. Narcissists rely on predictable emotional patterns. They look for insecurity, need for validation, fear of rejection. These emotional vulnerabilities make manipulation easier. But INFJs often have a strong inner compass. They value authenticity. They trust intuition. They reflect deeply before reacting. This makes them harder to manipulate. When something feels wrong, the INFJ pauses. They question the situation. They step back emotionally. This creates a barrier that narcissists struggle to break. Because manipulation depends on speed, confusion, emotional chaos. INFJs slow everything down. And once the manipulation becomes visible, the narcissist loses power. The calm confidence that unsettles narcissists. INFJs rarely seek dominance. They do not compete for attention. They are comfortable being in the background. But beneath that calm personality is a quiet confidence. Not arrogance, but clarity. They know who they are. They know what they value. And they know when something feels wrong. This calm self-awareness is deeply unsettling for narcissists. Because narcissists prefer people who doubt themselves. People who need approval. People who question their own perceptions. INFJs often trust their intuition. And this makes them difficult to control. INFJs understand emotional motives. Another reason narcissists feel threatened by INFJs is emotional insight. INFJs often understand the emotional motives behind behavior. Not just what someone says, but why they say it. They notice when praise is used as manipulation. They notice when kindness appears only when someone wants something. They notice when criticism is used to weaken confidence. This level of psychological awareness exposes narcissistic behavior quickly. And narcissists sense this. Even if the INFJ never says it out loud, the narcissist can feel that they are being understood. Not admired. Not fooled. Understood. And that is deeply uncomfortable. When narcissists realize the truth. Eventually, many narcissists reach a moment of realization when dealing with an INFJ. They realize the INFJ understands them. Not the fake version, but the real version. The manipulative patterns. The emotional games. The hidden insecurity. And in that moment, the narcissist often reacts in one of three ways. They try harder to manipulate. They attempt to discredit the INFJ. Or they avoid them completely. Because someone who sees through the illusion is dangerous to a narcissist's ego. So why do INFJs terrify narcissists? Not because INFJs fight them. Not because INFJs compete with them. But because INFJs see them. The INFJ personality combines empathy with insight. Kindness with awareness. Patience with deep psychological understanding. At first, narcissists may feel drawn to this. They believe they have found someone who will admire them endlessly. But eventually the illusion breaks. The INFJ notices the pattern, the manipulation, the emotional games. And once that understanding forms, something powerful happens. The INFJ withdraws their emotional energy. Calmly, quietly, without drama. This is what narcissists fear most. Someone who cannot be manipulated. Someone who cannot be controlled. Someone who sees through the mask. And chooses peace instead. If you are an INFJ, this experience may feel familiar. You may have wondered why certain people reacted strongly to your quiet awareness. Why manipulative personalities seemed uncomfortable around you. The reason is simple. You observe deeply. You understand patterns. And once you see the truth, you refuse to participate in the illusion. And that quiet clarity is something narcissists cannot handle. Because the one thing narcissists fear more than confrontation is being truly seen.